All right, let's get into it. Today, we're not just going to answer an exam question, we are going to completely decode it. We're going to get inside the examiner's head by looking at their playbook, the official mark scheme, to see exactly how you can turn a good answer into a perfect full mark answer.
So here's our game plan. We're going to focus on just one single biology question, question 06, and break it down piece by piece. We'll look at how to define a reflex, how to trace the reflex arc for a huge 6 marks, compare the nervous and endocrine systems, get into the menstrual cycle hormones, and then wrap it all up with a masterclass on technique.
Okay, so let's get started. The thing about a question like this is it's not just about what you know, it's about how you say it. You have to give the examiner the exact phrases they're looking for. It's kind of like a game of precision, and luckily for us, the mark scheme gives us all the rules.
And here's the first part. What is meant by the term reflex action? Just 2 marks. Now that seems super simple, right? But you'd be surprised how easy it is to drop one of these marks if you're not careful. Let's see how the mark scheme makes sure we get both. Okay, let's dive into this. How do you lock in these 2 marks, no questions asked? It all comes down to keywords. Think of it like this. The examiner has a checklist, and our job is to take every single box. And here it is, straight from the source. For your first mark, you got to use the word response or reaction. Simple. For the second mark, you've actually got some choices. The mark scheme lets you say automatic, no thinking, not conscious, or involuntary. Pick one, anyone. So a perfect answer could just be an automatic response. 2 words, 2 marks. Done.
Now, this is a brilliant pro tip right from the mark scheme itself. A lot of people write that reflexes are quick, or that they happen without the brain. Now, that's not exactly wrong, but look, the mark scheme says to ignore those words. You won't lose marks, but you won't gain any either. It's wasted ink. Sticking to the keywords is just way more efficient.
Okay, now for the big one, the 6 marker. This is where having a clear, step-by-step structure is everything. We need to tell the complete story of the reflex arc, and we need to do it in the right order, hitting 1 mark at a time. So here's our task. Describe how the woman's nervous system coordinates the reflex action. This is asking for a sequence of events. Let's build that perfect 6-point answer, step by step. So here's the perfect sequence. 1. A receptor in the skin detects a stimulus. 2. Electrical impulses travel along neurons. 3. And this order is crucial. The impulses go from a sensory neuron to a relay neuron and then to a motor neuron. 4. At the synapse, that gap between neurons, a chemical crosses it. 5. You've got to mention that this happens in the spinal cord or the CNS. And finally, 6. The effector, which is a muscle, contracts. That's your story. That's your 6 marks. And this just shows how specific, but also how flexible the mark scheme can be. See, for step 1, you could have said the receptor detects a temperature change or even pain. For step 4, they'll accept neurotransmitter for the chemical. Knowing these alternatives gives you more ways to be right, which is always a good thing. Okay, on to the next part of the question. We're shifting gears now from a description to a comparison. We need to really clearly spell out the differences between 2 of the body's major coordination systems.
The question is simple. How is the endocrine system different from the nervous system? 3 marks are up for grabs, which means we need 3 clear, distinct points of comparison. So the trick here is to make direct comparisons. The mark scheme lays it out beautifully for us. First, the endocrine system is slower. That's 1 mark. Second, its effects are longer lasting. That's mark number 2. And third, the signal is a chemical, a hormone, that travels through the blood, totally different from the nervous system's zippy electrical impulses. 1 point for each of those, and you've got your 3 marks. And now for the final biological part of our deep dive into question 06. This one's all about the hormonal control of the menstrual cycle. And you guessed it, it's another one that's all about getting the sequence right. 5 marks are on the table for this one. That's a huge clue that the examiner has a 5-point checklist for the hormonal cascade. So let's lay out those 5 key events. Here's the 5-part story. 1. FSH kicks things off, stimulating the egg to mature. 2. Estrogen steps in and it does 2 things. It inhibits FSH, but it stimulates LH. 3. LH is the big trigger for ovulation, the release of the egg. 4. Progesterone then takes charge, inhibiting both FSH and LH.
And finally, 5. Estrogen and progesterone team up to maintain the uterus lining. Each of those steps is 1 mark.
Now, you have got to look closely at this. See that word "and" in bold? This is a classic exam trap. For example, for estrogen, it says it inhibits FSH production and stimulates LH production. If you only mention one of those, you get 0 marks for that point. 0. You have to state both to get the mark. The same thing goes for progesterone's job in maintaining the uterus lining. So we've completely dismantled question 06, but the real win here isn't just knowing the biology, it's learning the technique. So let's wrap up with the key skills we've picked up from looking at the mark scheme. The big takeaway here is that using a mark scheme is a skill you can learn. Your masterclass toolkit is this: hunt for the keywords, know where you have options with words like allow or, pay attention to the ignore list so you don't waste time, always structure your long answers in a logical sequence, and please, always look out for that powerful little word, and. These rules will help you with any question you ever face. We've seen how looking at an exam through the examiner's eyes can totally transform your answers. You now have the tools to look at any question and see exactly where the marks are hiding. So really, the only question left is, which one are you going to decode next?